After the third tone of formless stabilized, the red prison fire began to stir. It was not out of control. Not yet, but it moved inside Woojin like a beast that had woken under the blade. Pacing back and forth, hungry for a battlefield that smelled exactly like its oldest enemy. Return to ruin erased boundaries. Red prison fire wanted to burn blankness into ash. The two forces met like dry grass and flame. Feng Jinhu's voice appeared more often than before. He told Lin Jin that Return to Ruin feared fire more than anything. If it erased the border, then burn the entire blank place. When nothing remained, the problem would be solved. Lin Jin answered coldly that if everything was burned, the people would be gone too. Luo Qianchu warned him that the next memory zone could not be treated like a battlefield. The royal court remnant realm had preserved records from before Return to Ruin erased them. Those memories might be chaotic, painful, and incomplete, but they were the key to understanding how the royal court had broken. If red prison fire burned through them, the pollution might disappear, but so would the memories. When the seventh team entered the preserved memory zone, they found themselves above a floating city made of fragments. Streets, courtyards, barracks, classrooms, kitchen tables, and ordinary homes hung in the air like pieces of a life that had refused to fall. This place did not record only the royal court's rulers. It kept the people who had been pushed to the edge of history. At the center of the memory zone was a small city called Qingtan. It was not the main court. It was a living district for gatekeepers' families, artificers, scribes, healers, and children. When the royal court broke, the Return to Ruin experiment reached Qingtan. The people there did not fully die. They were preserved as half-memories. Ji Yuxingyi's voice became heavy after reading the fragments. There were at least 8,700 individual memories here. If repaired, they could fill enormous gaps in the record before and after the court's collapse. Song Weiyu said softly that meant thousands of final testimonies. Return to Ruin pollution was spreading from the city wall. It did not devour the memories at once. First, it erased the names attached to them. Nameless children still ran through streets. Nameless healers still wrapped wounds. Nameless mothers still called someone home. Without names, the scenes became like dreams belonging to strangers. Lin Jin passed a dinner table and saw a woman push a bowl of soup toward an empty seat. She kept saying it would get cold if he came back late. But she no longer remembered who she was waiting for. The third tone trembled through the nameless soul envoy and fixed her name for one brief moment. Lu Qingnang. The woman suddenly burst into tears. She remembered. She had been waiting for her son. Everywhere they walked, the same thing happened. A child recovered the name of his wooden horse. A healer remembered the patient whose bandage she had tied. A scribe remembered that the last list he wrote had not been a military order, but names of civilians who needed evacuation. Lin Jin moved carefully. Too carefully. Feng Jinhu complained. Then the first mistake happened. A thread of red prison fire brushed the edge of a child's memory. It was not a full burn. It was only a line of heat, no wider than a finger. But the wooden horse in that child's hands lost one corner forever. Lin Jin froze. The child did not blame him. The memory did not even understand what had been damaged. But that made it worse. A missing corner in a toy should have been a small thing on a battlefield. Here, it was a piece of a life that might never be repaired. Shen Qing sealed the fire line immediately. Luo Qianchu reflected the scorched edge back into shape. Yu Baishuang used bone boundaries to stop the damage from spreading. Lin Xiaoman, from the human world side, pulled the stability of the memory through the half door. Together, they stopped the collapse. The child's name appeared. Lu Mian of Qingtan. He held the damaged wooden horse and looked at Lin Jin with blank innocence. Feng Jinhu said it was only one corner, and that Lin Jin had saved the whole area. In the spiritual wasteland, Lin Jin looked at him and asked if that was always how he counted. Feng Jinhu asked how else war should be counted. Saving the many was victory. That night, Lin Jin walked toward the red prison throne on his own. Feng Jinhu sat in the fire, smiling like he had been waiting. Lin Jin did not come to curse him. He came to ask whether, long ago, Feng Jinhu had burned things that might have been saved. The red fire was silent for a breath. Then Feng Jinhu said yes. He did not deny it. He did not decorate it. That honesty made the answer heavier. The red prison seat had always given simple answers. When rot spread, burn it first. When enemies hid behind walls, burn the walls too. When rules became chains, burn the rules. That answer had saved the royal court more than once. It had also harmed it. Lin Jin asked what happened afterward. Feng Jinhu's smile faded. Afterward, they became afraid of him. Afraid the fire would cross the line. Afraid Red Prison would stop obeying royal command. Afraid that one day, he would decide the royal court itself deserved to burn. Lin Jin understood then that the question was not whether fire was useful. The question was who decided where it stopped. So the 7th team built their first team restriction formation for Red Prison Fire. Ji Yuxing called it the Red Prison Boundary Cooperative Model. Qin Yu said that name was awful. Song Weiyu immediately named it the Fire Leash. The official report kept Ji Yuxing's version. Everyone else used Song Weiyu's. Shen Qing divided the paths the fire could take with Thunder Realm lines. Luo Qianchu used Mirror Fate to distinguish pollution from the memory itself. Yu Baishuang fixed forbidden boundaries with bone. The nameless soul envoy protected names with the third tone, so the fire would not mistake nameless blankness for corruption. Lin Xiaoman held the half-door ready to cut energy flow the moment the fire surged. Ji Yuxing monitored expansion rate. Qin Yu, Zhou Zan, He Shan, and Song Weiyu guarded the outer ring. The first experiment was miserable. The red fire, forced into thin threads, raged like it wanted to leap out of the blade and bite everyone. Feng Jinhu cursed inside the spiritual wasteland with the offended dignity of an ancient. Catastrophe tied to a string. Lin Jin's palm blistered. He did not let go. Shen Qing pressed the fire line back again and again. Luo Qianchu corrected the angle. Lin Xiaoman clenched her teeth and held the half-door pull steady. It took 40 minutes of preparation to clean 7 seconds of pollution. But the damage rate was 0. Qin Yu stared at the rescued memory street and said the efficiency was irritating. Ji Yuxing replied that the damage rate was 0. Qin Yu immediately changed his mind and said that was acceptable. For half a day afterward, Feng Jinhu did not speak. For him, that was almost the same as anger. Yu Baishuang deliberately said that the red prison seat had been leashed by children. Feng Jinhu's fire nearly burned through the edge of the spiritual wasteland. Luo Qianchu calmly added that it was a fact. Lin Jin did not join the teasing. He knew Feng Jinhu's anger was not only pride. Red prison fire was punishment. Sin burning, path severing flame. Using it inch by inch to cut pollution truly violated its oldest nature. When Feng Jinhu finally spoke, his voice was like fire under a volcano. He told Lin Jin that the royal court needed Red Prison not because it was beautiful, and not because it was precise. It needed Red Prison because while everyone else argued about what could be saved, fire had already burned the rot away. Lin Jin answered that this was why the court feared him. Feng Jinhu fell silent. Lin Jin raised Wujin and let a single thin line of red fire pass through the restriction formation. It burned only the blank corrosion around a child's name, leaving the memory untouched. Then he said that fire did not lose its meaning because it learned a boundary. Feng Jinhu laughed once. Low and dangerous. He said Lin Jin was trying to teach a wildfire how to stitch wounds. Lin Jin looked across Qingtan, where erased people were remembering how to be mourned. Then maybe, he said, it is time fire learned something new. The silver remnant thread of the life command seat was almost too thin to see. It stretched from Qingtan's memory zone toward the deeper parts of the royal court remnant realm. Avoiding return to ruin blankness. Passing through inverted corridors. And running along hidden grooves beneath the 7 seats. The longer Ji Yuxing studied it, the quieter he became. Finally, he said it was not an escape route. It was a preset route. Lin Jin's gaze turned cold. Ji Yuchengye had known return to ruin would awaken. Luo Qianchu explained that the life command seat was used to cutting the future into many possibilities. Ji Yuchengye might not have known the exact hour, but he had known Lin Jin would come here. Qin Yu was furious. So they were on that man's chessboard again. Song Weiyu smiled without warmth and said at least the board was large. At the end of the silver thread stood a study that should not have survived the collapse. Its shelves were empty. Its windows opened onto no sky. In the center of the room floated a torn page from the life command register. Then Ji Yuchengye appeared. He did not deny anything. His eyes moved across the 7th team, stopping briefly on each person before returning to Lin Jin. If Lin Jin could not pass return to ruin, he said, then the zero-life realm had no right to speak of rewriting rules. Qin Yu snapped, asking if Ji Yuchengye called this a qualification test. Ji Yuchengye remained calm. The royal court had failed. The central authority had failed. The white prison had failed. The Star Lords were not an answer. Only devouring. If the zero-life realm was only another special realm that needed protection, then it was meaningless. Lin Jin stepped forward. So you placed Xiaoman, the white prison, my parents, and the Ash 7th team into your calculations? Ji Yuchengye replied that they had already been inside the game. He only made Lin Jin see it. That answer made Lin Jin's eyes go completely cold. Wu Jin slid half an inch from its sheath. Shen Qing did not stop him. She also wanted to know whether Ji Yuchengye had a bottom line. Lin Jin asked the question that had been waiting in his chest for too long. What gave you the right to wager with my parents' pain? Xiaoman's pain, the white prison's pain, and the pain of my team? Ji Yuchengye did not look away. Because, he said, no one wanted to admit the old answers were already broken. Central wanted control. The white prison wanted preservation. The royal court wanted restoration. The Star Lords wanted to swallow everything. Every side claimed to be the answer. And every side was manufacturing the next disaster. So you chose me, Lin Jin said. Ji Yuchengye corrected him. He chose the zero-life realm. Lin Jin was only its bearer. That was the moment Qin Yu truly wanted to hit him. But before anyone moved, Ji Yuchengye opened the torn page of the life command register. There were no words on it, only silver lines that kept changing. With one touch, those lines became memories from 20 years ago. Lin Jin saw Ji Yuchengye deep inside the white prison, cutting away one crucial memory after another. Not only from Lin Jin's family. He cut the memories of white prison researchers, central auditors, royal court remnants, and even parts of his own calculations. Ji Yuchengye said he cut memory so return to ruin could not find a complete path. But the people who lost those memories suffered. They became lost, they made wrong choices without the whole truth. Those were his sins. Lin Jin asked if he regretted it. Ji Yuchengye was silent for a long time. Then he said no. The room became colder than the remnant realm outside. He did not say the pain was fake. He did not say the victims were insignificant. He simply refused regret because regret would not bring back the futures he had been trying to preserve. Lin Jin wanted to cut him for that answer. He also understood that cutting him would not solve what Ji Yu Changye had left behind. Then Ji Yu Changye offered a choice. The torn page could reveal the location and rules of the reflection throne of Return to Ruin. But if Lin Jin accepted it fully, the act would mean acknowledging that Ji Yu Changye's game still had value. Qin Yu immediately told him not to take it. Ji Yu Xing, very reluctantly, said the information value was extremely high. Song Weiyu laughed coldly. That was what made Ji Yu Changye so infuriating. His things were useful, and the person was nearly unbearable. Lin Jin looked at the torn page. Then he reached out. Silver lines wrapped around his wrist. Trying to establish recognition from the life command seat, Lin Jin drew Wujin and cut the recognition away. The information remained. The identity did not. He told Ji Yu Changye that he would take the data, but not the role. For the first time, Ji Yu Changye's eyes carried something close to a smile. He said Lin Jin was becoming more skilled. Lin Jin answered that people like him had forced the skill into existence. The torn page gave them more than a map. It gave 3 rules for the reflection throne. First, the throne was not in fixed space. It drifted among the possibilities where people had not become themselves. Second, the throne would erase team relationships first. Third, if anyone admitted that the reflected life was more suitable, the remnant realm could separate them from the team. After Ji Yu Xing read the rules aloud, the study became silent. Return to Ruin's most frightening weapon was not illusion. It was reason. It could show a life with less pain, less danger, fewer scars. A life where the person standing here had never needed to become the person they were. Lin Xiaoman's voice came from the human world side. What if I see a version of myself without the keyhole? Su Wanning answered softly that Xiaoman could envy that version, but she should not let that version decide the present door for her. Xiaoman thought for a moment. Then she said she understood. Envy was not the same as exchange. The team rested outside the life command study. Qin Yu cleaned his gauntlets and said if the throne showed him that clan young master version again, he would beat it until it could not recognize itself. Song Weiyu said he probably wanted to see the expensive armor. Qin Yu denied it. Ji Yu Xing calmly provided heart rate evidence. Qin Yu threatened to remove the battery from his mechanical sphere. For one short moment, the team sounded like themselves again. Lin Jin listened quietly. He realized that Return to Ruin did not only erase names. It also waited for people to become tired of who they had chosen to be. Ji Yu Changye stood near the ruined shelves. Looking at him, Lin Jin asked whether the life command seat had ever calculated a future where people were allowed to choose without being manipulated. Ji Yu Changye said very softly that such futures existed. They were simply rare. Lin Jin sheathed Wujin. Then we will make one less rare, he said. Ji Yu Changye did not answer. But the torn page of the life command register stopped trying to wrap his wrist. It became only a map. And ahead of them, in the place between all unlived lives, the reflection throne waited. The place of the reflection throne had no ground. When the 7th team entered, there were only countless floating reflections beneath their feet. Each reflection was a possible life in which someone had not become themselves. They layered across the void like water, like broken mirrors, like a sea made from every easier road never taken. At the center hung the throne. It was formed from blankness and black-white reflection. The echo of Return to Ruin sat upon it without a face and without a crown. Yet in that moment, it looked more like a king than any king could have. Because it did not need to rule. It only needed to make ruling, resisting, choosing, and remembering lose their boundaries. Its first words were directed at Lin Jin. 0 error. It said, "You are late." Lin Jin answered that there had been a long line. Qin Yu almost laughed. and the solemn pressure around the throne cracked by a small but satisfying amount. Return to Ruin lifted one hand. Reflections rose around each member of the team. Qin Yu saw himself as the polished clan heir. Shen Qing saw the lonely thunder tower. Song Weiyu saw the self who trusted no one. Zhou Zan saw himself guarding until everything behind the door fell silent. He Shan saw a version who carried weight forever without being remembered. Ji Yuxing saw himself recording everything and joining nothing. Then Return to Ruin spoke again. Since you depend on companions, it said, then companions shall be erased. The first attack landed on relationships. Qin Yu suddenly forgot why he was willing to follow Lin Jin's command. He knew Lin Jin was strong. He knew they had fought together. But he could not remember the feeling that he could leave his back to him. His fist momentum scattered. Shen Qing forgot the first time she and Lin Jin judged a line side by side. She knew she was the one who illuminated boundaries. But for a moment, she lost the instinct of where to shine. Song Weiyu's shadows retreated to her feet. Zhou Zan's shield remained raised. But he no longer knew who stood behind the door. He Shan held a reflection stone and suddenly did not understand why he had chosen to carry it. Even Lin Xiaoman, on the human world side, felt the impact. She looked at the half-door and wondered if its scale was truly hers. Or a task pushed into her hands by her brother, her mother, and everyone who needed her. The half-door trembled. Lin Jin stood in the middle of the cracking team and realized why Ji Yuchengyi's warning had mattered. Return to Ruin did not erase memory, first it erased the meaning of shared memory. So Lin Jin began calling them back. To Qin Yu. He said that Qin Yu did not follow him because Lin Jin was stronger. Qin Yu followed because he had chosen a road others could run on. Not a road that left everyone behind. Qin Yu's fist steadied. To Shen Qing. Lin Jin said that she was not lighting his path alone. She had chosen to light the border where none of them would be erased. The Thunder Realm gathered again. To Zhou Zan. Lin Jin said he did not guard the door because of the oath shield. Zhou Zan had once said that if a door had to be closed, he would stand first. The shield face lit up. To He Shan. Lin Jin said he did not understand the steel's rules. But he held it anyway. He had chosen to carry first and understand later. He Shan roared, and the reflection stone shattered in his arms. To Song Weiyu. Lin Jin said she stayed with the team not because it was safe. She had seen too many people swallowed by the label of risk. And she had chosen not to let Xiaoman become only that. Song Weiyu's shadow spread again. She smiled and said he remembered very clearly. To Ji Yuxing. Lin Jin said he was not only an observer. He recorded names because those who were recorded were harder to erase. That too was his choice. The data stream stabilized. The mechanical sphere restarted beside him. Finally, Lin Jin spoke through the half-door. Xiaoman, the scale of the door is yours. Not mine. Not Mother's. Not the white prisons. You decide how far it opens. On the other side, Lin Xiaoman closed her fingers around the silver-white mark. The half-door stopped trembling. Return to Ruin finally began to truly attack. Hundreds of unlived selves rose beneath the throne. They no longer tempted. They overwrote. Expensive armor appeared on Qin Yu's body. A lonely thunder tower rose behind Shen Qing. A blank girl without a keyhole appeared beside Xiaoman's half-door. Then the third tone rang. This time, it did not merely fix personal names. It fixed the fact that they had already chosen. Black gold sound fell beneath each person's feet like nails, holding their chosen lives in place while the reflections battered against them. For the first time, Lin Jin felt the full power of the third tone. It did not make people unchanging. It preserved evidence of choice when the world tried to rewrite them. Return to Ruin said that definition was attachment. And attachment brought suffering. The nameless soul envoy drew his blade. Namelessness, he answered, is the second death. The reflection throne cracked. Then Return to Ruin released its final temptation. Deep inside the throne, a path appeared. If Lin Jin accepted the Zero King's seat, he could gain partial authority over the royal court remnant realm. With that authority, he could immediately suppress Return to Ruin syndrome, stabilize part of the White Prison ship, and even allow Lin Junyue to leave the chain tower for longer. It was not fake. Ji Yuxingyi's face turned ugly after scanning it. The authority was real. Qin Yu cursed. That was exactly why it was disgusting. False things could be smashed. Real things were harder to refuse. In the distance, royal court remnant soldiers knelt. The 7 ruined seats trembled at the same time. Formless, white bone, mirror fate, red prison, life command, Return to Ruin, and even the unrecordable seat all seemed to wait for Lin Jin's answer. Return to Ruin said that if he inherited the royal court, he could save his parents faster. If he refused, they would have to keep enduring. Lin Jin looked toward the empty throne. For a moment, no one spoke. Then he raised Wujin. He said he would save his parents, but not by sitting on the chair that had ruined them. He would stabilize the White Prison, but not by inheriting the court that had turned preservation into a prison. He would suppress Return to Ruin, but not by accepting a throne built from erased names. The royal court wants a king, he said. I came as its judge. Wujin fell. The reflection throne split. Return to Ruin's echo became vast and cold. If Zero would not sit on the throne, it said, then Zero was the enemy of all thrones. From the depths of the remnant realm, countless reflections surged forward. They were erased lives, abandoned names, sealed files, star-polluted echoes, and histories too wounded to be called dead. Lin Jin did not use royal authority to suppress them. He let the team stand where each belonged. Qin Yu opened the road. Shen Qing illuminated the boundary. Zhou Zan guarded the door. He Shan held up collapsing steles. Song Weiyu cut the shadows. Ji Yuxing recorded the sources of every reflection. Lin Xiaoman refused Return to Ruin's reverse invasion with the half-door. The nameless soul envoy rang the third tone to define names. Luo Qianchu separated truth from falsehood with mirror light. Yu Baishuang fixed the edge with white bone. At the end, Lin Jin borrowed one line of red prison fire from Feng Jinhu. This flame did not burn the reflected lives. It did not burn the erased names. It burned only the blank corrosion wrapped around them. Feng Jinhu laughed. Lin Jin had truly turned red prison into a needle. Lin Jin answered that a needle could stitch a wound. The fire line crossed the throne. The Return to Ruin echo cracked apart. Not into death, but into thousands of loosened names. Some could be saved. Some could only be recorded. Some would remain incomplete forever. But none of them had to be swallowed silently. The lost royal seat collapsed. In its place, the remnant realm opened a path back. Before leaving, Lin Jin looked once at the 7 seats. He did not bow. He did not inherit. He turned away with his team. Behind them, the empty throne continued to break, and the names buried beneath the royal court finally began to sound like people again. It closed cleanly, at the scale she chose. Lin Jin watched her do it and did not interfere. That small restraint mattered more than any speech. Inside the spiritual wasteland, the nameless soul envoy stood quieter than before. The third tone no longer sounded like a broken bell. It sounded like a promise hammered into the ground. Luo Qiancho's mirror reflected the ruined court fading behind them. Yu Baishuang's white bone boundary remained steady. Feng Jinhu's red fire circled Wujin once. Still proud, still dangerous, but no longer only a wildfire. The royal court had offered Lin Jin a throne. He had refused it, But refusal did not mean walking away from responsibility. It meant choosing a harder road. He would not inherit the court's authority, but he would carry the judgment of what it had done. He would not become king of the remnant realm, but he would make sure the people buried beneath its seats were not erased again. Above the 9th safe zone, dawn came pale and slow. The war was not over. The Star-Lords still waited beyond the doors. The white prison ship still needed to rise. Lin Junyue was still bound to the chain tower. And somewhere ahead, a greater descent had already begun, turning its gaze toward the human world. But for this one morning, Lin Jin stood with his team beneath the repaired wall and understood something new. A throne could command people to kneel. A name could help them stand.